Hello my fellow book addicts, Megan here, and time for another book review. Today I'm going to be talking about Other by Kincy, and this is book 1 in the Other series. Now this book is a little over 300 pages, and it's young adult, and it has paranormal elements to it. The main character's name is Gwen, and she is a half puka. And for those of you who don't know, a puka is a Welsh shape-changing spirits creature. And basically, supernatural creatures in this world are known to humans. Humans know about vampires, werewolves, and all that. And unfortunately, usually treat any supernatural like crap. Which is kind of sad. And, I just feel that's unfortunately a very human response. So, Gwen's father was a full-blooded puka who her mom kind of had a fling with when she lived in Wales. Her mom moved to the US at some point, and Gwen came along, and Gwen's immediate family, her stepfather and her half-sister and her mom, all know about her half-puka heritage. And they're totally fine with it, she's still Gwen to them, but she hides it from pretty much everyone else in her small little town, because they aren't quite as open to others. She has a human boyfriend whose name is Zach, and he doesn't know her true identity either, and it's eating her up inside because she wants him to know, but at the same time she's terrified of his response because his family is like super religious. So she's worried that he's gonna leave her and basically treat her like spawn of the devil. Then a pack of werewolves makes its way into town, which puts everyone up in arms because while they treat other supernaturals poorly, werewolves and vampires are usually treated the worst because their whole supernaturalness, otherness, is transferred by bite. So it's kind of more like a disease than anything else. So they're treated pretty poorly. Even among some others, like Gwen has this huge, bias against werewolves and vampires, seeing them as these, bloodthirsty monsters. Compared to others like her and her friend Chloe, who are born with their otherness. So yeah, this werewolf pack comes to town, and then, some others who have secretly lived in this little town start showing up dead. Murdered. Obviously murdered. And, the police aren't really investigating, and that kind of sets Chloe off, because she feels they're just not doing their job because these victims were others. And it drives her crazy, and she wants to find out who the hell is doing all this damage. That's really the book, her dealing with her otherness, trying to debate on whether to tell her boyfriend or not, and trying to figure out what the hell's going on with all these murders. Now, before I go into my spoilery bit, I absolutely love this book. I did not think I would enjoy it quite this much when I first picked it up, but I was hooked from the get-go. And I just want to say, I absolutely love how this is one supernatural book who isn't just limiting itself to the fae, vampires, and werewolves. It just makes me so happy, because I feel like those three are kind of like the big go-to supernatural elements. And it's good to see, more in there as well. Like pukas, there's sprites. Though I guess those could be considered fae, but it's more specific, I feel. And just, there's more supernatural creatures from other countries as well, which makes me happy, because I love folklore and myths and stuff from other countries. I love reading about other countries' myths and folklore. So getting, Welsh others, and we are introduced to a Japanese fox spirit. I'm probably gonna totally butcher the term for it. It's a Kinsoon, I think it's pronounced. I'm sorry, I'm bad with pronouncing things. But I just love getting that, diversity in there. It makes me so happy, because after reading about, werewolves and vampires and the fae so much, as much as I love reading about all those, it's nice to kind of mix it up a bit. And I hope in the later books, I believe this is part of a trilogy, so there are 2 more, I hope we see more diversity in those as well. So yes, I definitely recommend this book. So that's it for my little synopsis. I'm gonna go into my more spoilery bits, so if you do not wish to be spoiled, I suggest you click away now and come back after you read the book. So yeah, she does tell Zach about her otherness at some point, but unfortunately, he has other things on his mind, because they are about to have sex, and Gwen is trying to explain that she is half other to him before, this goes down, because he does deserve to know, especially since they've been together for like a year. And of course, he only has one thing on his mind. He's like, yeah, I know. And Gwen misunderstands, thinking that he knows that she is part other. And, after the deed is done, apparently he really misunderstood and thought she was just going to tell him that she was a virgin. So, I just want to punch Zach in the freaking face at that. Because it's like, if someone's trying to tell you something, you stop and you listen. Don't just assume you know what it is, because there's a chance you might not be right. And the fact that he got all, panicky at the thought of her being half other, it made me want to strangle him. Because it's like, you've had a year to get to know this girl. And now that you know she's other, you suddenly want nothing to do with her? Yet you still claim to care for her? No. If you cared for her, you would still be there for her, even if she turned out to be not exactly what you thought she was. She's still the same person on the inside, even if she's half puka. She did try and tell you. Not your fault, not her fault you decided not to listen. And she got so upset about him, treating her differently. It's not like she can help being half puka. It's not like she asked to be half puka. It's just how things happened. But thankfully she has support from her friend Chloe. And I feel so bad for Chloe, especially since she, gets killed off later on. Apparently there's someone up and about who's targeting others. First two victims that we know of are water spirits who supposedly look like they were drowned. Then there's, kindly old man who was killed and then dressed up to look like a leprechaun. Who, I guess it's pretty safe to say that he was a leprechaun. Then Chloe was killed. Her throat was slit and then she was hung up in a tree. But thankfully through all this, Gwen does have another friend. Apparently one of her blogging friends moves into town, and his name is Tavian. And as we find out later, he is a Kinsoon, or Japanese fox spirit. And it just makes me so happy that Gwen has another other friend who is supportive and nice to her, and they end up becoming a couple, which is good. I feel she does need someone to help get her over Zach and him being an asshole. And yeah, both of them want to know who the hell is targeting others, because both of them are others. And I just also want to add, Tavian is also half other. He is only half fox spirit. For some reason, something happened to his mother, we aren't sure what, but he was off on his own. He was put in an orphanage, and then he was adopted. His adoptive parents know what he is, and they're totally cool with it. And I like the little twist who this murderer is. At first we think it's like Zach's cousin, Justin, who is around from Texas. And yeah, he has the motive and everything. A girl he was dating turned out to be a vampire, and she was planning to turn him into one soon. Without his consent, obviously. And yeah, that kind of affected him. He says he's an exterminator from, I believe it was, Texas. And there were so many other things that seemed to link him up to being a hunter. But it turns out it was actually Zach's brother, Ben, who is studying to be a minister or something. Apparently he thinks others are corrupt beings who need to be cleansed and freed, and it's really messed up. And he almost tries to kill Tavian. He shoots him, and then he almost kills Gwen. Thankfully, Zach, puts things together and actually saves Gwen. Thank goodness. He doesn't hate her enough to let her die. But he still doesn't think they can be together, which, you know what, good riddance, because, frankly, Gwen deserves someone a little better than him, especially since Zach's parents sent her a pamphlet for this, cleansing cure place that will help rehabilitate her and make her normal. And, Gwen takes that pretty badly. Understandable, because that's just insulting and rude to send that. And one time earlier in the book, when Zach, misunderstands what Gwen says and thinks she's gonna go get cured. Just the look of like hope on his face, or that is described on his face, it made me want to punch him in the face so bad. So yeah, you know what? Gwen deserves someone who can accept her in all of her, Puka-san and all, which she gets in Tavian, thankfully. So yeah, I enjoyed this book quite a bit. I am curious to see how Zach's family, responds to Ben, being this murderer. And Justin knew about this and went along with it and helped him. So I'm curious to see how Zach's family reacts to this and whether they, hate Gwen for her role in this reveal and all that. And Gwen, I think Gwen is going to be much more open about her otherness now, so I'm curious to see how, her town reacts to that as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I do highly recommend it. So, that is it for this book review, and I hope to see you guys next time. Keep on reading, my little book addicts. Keep on reading.